Hi everyone, I'm Ivan Mader and you are on the Act Club podcast. And today I have a guest. He is in California right now, but he's originally from New York. He's a director, he's a DOP, he's an editor, and is also a specialist in vertical dramas. So I want you to welcome Scott Di Lalla. Hi Scott, how are you?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on this. This is great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I see you're in Paris and it's still light over there.
Yeah,
You're
so
not.
yeah, we are 9 hour of difference. So yeah,
Mhm.
it will begin to come down right now. So yeah, it's morning to you. So it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a little bit strange, but it's
Yeah,
good.
it's good.
So
Connecting. Got my
yeah,
coffee.
yeah, perfect. So I wanted to ask you for the beginning. So how did you arrive at this point in your career? How did you begin? Did you first begin as a DOP, as a director, and how did you arrive at this point of your career as a director and specialist in vertical drama? So let's hear everything.
Yeah, it's been a long road. I'll give you a shorter version, of course. Always had a passion for filmmaking my whole life. I mean, ever since there was no one in my family who was a filmmaker. Maybe a distant uncle who was an actor in Italy. That's a whole nother story. But just this drive in me, I could not shake it. I had to do this as my career or craft. I'm originally from New York, but Hollywood, LA was always my dream to go to. So when I was 20, I moved to LA and wasn't easy. I tried to be I tried to be an actor at first,
Oh
which
yeah.
I love. Yeah, I love that craft. Actually, before I went to my university, I went to a 2-year uh, community college and I got a performing arts degree. And from there, I tried the acting thing. It's really, really hard. But I always felt in my heart, I always wanted to be behind the camera as well and direct actors. Um, Jumping forwards, a good friend of mine who always shares the same passion, we decided, hey, let's start a film company and just make our own stuff. We were writing scripts. We did this. Aside from filmmaking, motorcycles and fabricating and all that,
Oh
well,
yeah.
that world was a hobby of mine. So I said to him, "Hey, let's either write a script about this world or let's do a documentary." And of course, a documentary is the easiest way for a filmmaker to just get a camera and greenlight their own project. It's just
Yeah.
it's just a
Get the
lot less.
project rolling and
Get the
just
project
film.
rolling.
Yeah.
So we did. We came up with our first documentary called Chopper Town, and
Wow.
we focused on a motorcycle club called the Sinners here in Southern California. And what they did was the story arc was they were helping their one of their members build his bike. One guy did
Mm.
some welding, one guy gave a part. So it was this collected group effort of seeing this bike evolve into a beautiful machine at the end. But during this story arc, we got into their lives. They played music on the weekend. They got into a bar fight. We went up north to meet another member who was incredible and just eccentric. But anyway, this little documentary became uh, popular within this niche market worldwide. I mean, jumping
Yeah.
forwards, it's still popular. In Germany, a friend who became my good friend, he started off someone who was really like Choppertown. For years, he had a festival in Germany called Choppertown
Oh yeah.
Sideshow.
Yeah.
So there was a time we went Dickies Europe uh, took us and our projects because we had Choppertown, then we did something called Brittown, Harbortown Bobber. We kept doing documentaries within the same theme within this motorcycle, home built world.
Yeah.
And then we took them around Europe to screen at bars and at old barns, and it was an adventure. So my career started with my best friend. Our company's One World Studios. We started off making documentaries, feature docs. Then that turned into docu-series, which now could be found on Prime, still the theme of motorcycles.
Oh yeah.
Then my passion was horror films. I wrote a
So
horror
you
film.
combined the two passions, which was the
Yeah,
motorcycles and
yeah,
the filmmaking. That made me think about the TV show that for some years what was really popular was Son of Anarchy, and in
yeah.
California you made me think already just as this TV show and the Hells Angels, and yeah, it's an old world, and yeah, it's very
It,
interesting.
exactly, exactly. Ironically, our script that we wrote called Privateer or Lords of Gravity before Sons of Anarchy came out. In this
Mm,
story, I created a motorcycle gang called Sons of Diablo. So it was
incredible.
it was weird, right? And so when I saw Sons of Anarchy, I'm like, oh my God, that's Sons of was an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
connection. But anyway, yes, so I really tried to combine as much as I can my passions for filmmaking and my passion for motorcycles. And I love horror films. So I wrote and oh, to step back a little bit, I got into DP and camera work because
Hmm.
we just our DP at the time, he was a student at AFI and he just couldn't have time to do it. So I'm like, you know what? I love photography. I love shooting just generally. Let me just pick up the camera and shoot. And I shot all our documentaries. And I'm like, this is great. Didn't go to film school, but learned,
Yeah.
hands-on learning
Yeah,
was great.
that's the good way. I think you can study all that you want, but once you're on the field, it's better.
You're absolutely, and
School
for
of
me too.
life,
Yeah, I learned way better, even though I went to college. It's just I still learn way better doing hands-on stuff.
of
So we
course.
shot all of those, and I'm just like, yeah, I love shooting, and whatever we do, I'll just shoot it. And our horror film we shot on Super 8 millimeter. So my friend Zach, business partner, he was more of the producer hat and I wore the producer hat. He's like, Super 8, are you kidding? Oh my God, it's crazy. No. So I'm like, no, we could do it. We could do it. I probably won't do it again to shoot a
So
feature
you
with
you
Super.
were shooting analog
Yeah,
on
analog,
film.
Super 8 on film for my horror film.
Great. Wow.
And it was, oh my God, it was a journey. Beautiful journey. I mean, yeah, looks like a 70s horror film. Like
Yeah.
some people love it because of the way it's shot and the texture in the film, and some people are like, "Wait, what is this?" But it was, yeah, it was exciting. So that crazy story, but that did sell after 2 years. That got distributed, and then we translated it into Spanish. It went to the Spanish markets. It's called I Am Zozo, so it's about a Ouija board demon. So it definitely attracts people who believe the Ouija board can talk to spirits or
Hmm.
Catholics, Christians, anyone who has that, the devil,
Background, yes.
God in the background. So it does work within that space, and the built-in there is a built-in market for it. Yeah, I just love the paranormal, and then yeah, things slowed up. So to pay the bills, I got into reality TV and was in the camera department. There were times I was camera assistant, and there were times I was camera operator. And I worked on a lot of food shows and Food Network shows, Netflix shows, and just did that. And that paid the bills and just kept me going. Um, yeah, I did some editing. I do, of course, a lot of us we just do our own editing,
Yeah,
with
you have
Premiere
to
or
you have to do
DaVinci.
what you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I got
use Da
hired a few
Vinci,
times.
but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, me too. I love
yeah,
DaVinci and got
yeah,
hired a few times doing editing. But my true love is definitely is shooting, or really it's directing. I love directing. And I don't mind packaging a project and putting it together. So COVID hit, we all know that story. Hollywood had its ups and downs with strikes, and yeah, it's just crazy times. And then 2 years ago in 2024, I was traveling through Europe, and a buddy of mine called me And he never had he was never able to explain things like clearly, and in this case, definitely not. But he said, Scott, I need your help. I'm doing this vertical thingy, and I just need your help. So his company, he was a silent partner in a company that were taking on verticals, micro dramas. And he was just a silent partner. So he wasn't hands-on. And he asked me, can you come on? He got sick at the time, so he really needed help and someone he can trust. So I'm like, yeah, yeah, it sounds cool. What is it? He's like, oh, it's like TikTok. He didn't know how to explain it, but he's like TikTok. I think he was explaining it like, like shorts, like on Reels or something. So I'm like,
Hmm.
okay. I came back, called him, and I said, yeah, let's. What do you need? He goes, well, we're gonna start one soon. Here's the script. I'm sending it over. It was 100 pages. I'm like, oh, this is a feature, not a short. He's like, no, and it was translated from Chinese to English. It was really messy. I go, okay, cool. Well, can I help, format this and clean it up because it's really unorganized.
Yeah.
So I cleaned it up and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a lot of pages, is a lot of locations, and he wanted me to help produce it. So I'm like, great, great. Well, when do we shoot? Like in 2 months? He's like, no, like 3 weeks. And I'm like, what do you mean three
Everything
weeks?
in 3 weeks.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just couldn't,
That's
my
crazy.
brain couldn't, I'm like, but wait, this is a feature film with 25 locations, two weddings. Think there's an airplane crash, there's fencing. Like, I just couldn't. He goes, Scott, don't worry. I'm going to send you the LP from the last one we did. He'll show you the ropes. We got to shoot it all in 6 days. Okay, that was another like crack in my brain. I'm like, what do you mean 6 days?
Yeah.
So I learned, I learned how to put these together, and the trick it was just, you find locations. If it's a mansion, usually there's a mansion in there. You have to use, put 5 locations. You have to find that piece of the mansion is going to be the restaurant. That piece is going to be the cafe. This main piece is, Julian's house, etc. So I
Hmm.
learned how to make a 25 location story have three
In
company
one.
move, yeah,
Yeah.
or three, like in 6 or 7 days. And there was 15 at the time. There was 15 or 20 page uh, days per day shooting. So needless to say, I sat back as a producer and said, I have no desire to direct one of these. So after producing 5 or 6 of them, I finally was like, I want to put my director's hat on and, get a crack at this. And so it was hard to get my first one just because it was getting more popular, and the platforms, hey, have you directed one? No, I haven't directed one. Oh, okay. It was hard to be the first time director on these.
Uh-huh.
So I got my shot, and it ended up being a co-director position on a Flare Flow uh, series, which was great. It was Flare Flow, and yeah, it was hard. But I had to learn a lot of things, to be honest. And this will go into a little bit more of how I see, you know, my perspective of directing one of these. And I had to learn. I was not good at blocking, for vertical. I wasn't good at blocking for the speed that we had to go for vertical.
Yeah.
Um, and I had to, now as a director, I had to really pay attention to details and the things that work when you're watching it on your phone. And the
Hmm.
things that work are like, if they if he grabs the necklace, we have to have a beautiful clean shot of him grabbing the necklace. If he's touching her arm, hey, stop. We have to get a clean of that hand. So details were important. Your coverage was the most important, and your wide shot was the least important. You could
Yeah.
almost throw it away. Um, so anyway, I went on to directing a bunch more with Ammo Pictures and their partner TerraVision here in LA. And so I worked with Ukrainian companies for the last 9 months,
Hmm.
which has been amazing. Great crew, great people. They did emphasize on the cinematic look. So that was very attracting for me.
Yeah, of
Where
course. As a DOP and director, I
yeah,
guess you would like your image to have this clean, sharp
yeah, and this little
look.
bit of depth in it, with
Mhm.
contrast and stuff like that. Um, so it's a good run. Yeah, I mean, you could ask me a ton of questions about directing and blocking, but that's sort of a quick outline of my path.
Yeah, but I guess that's perfect. You did all the journey from there to there, and it's very interesting to see where you're coming from directing and filmmaking in documentary, passing to horror, and then vertical dramas. So
Yeah,
it's very complete
yeah,
as a way of doing your own journey as an artist. And for those who don't know, because in Europe it begins to be a little bit known now, the vertical dramas, but it's not really a thing. It's a thing, but not as much overall in France. It's not again so much known. So your friend explained it to you not so much clearly. So you,
yeah.
if you have a clear way of saying what is a vertical drama.
Yeah, vertical drama is they'll let's compare a vertical drama and we'll say compare a vertical style versus a horizontal script. So we have two scripts. One is 90 pages, it's for vertical. One is 90 pages, it's for horizontal. They're written differently. So in a vertical, this you're taking those 90 pages and you're breaking that up into about a minute and a half episodes throughout the whole thing. So you end up with 40 or 50 episodes, or I don't know, I gotta do the math. But so essentially you'll be writing for those beats. So each episode has its own three-part arc that has to happen. It has to grab your attention. There's some action, and there's always a cliffhanger. Could be a small cliffhanger, but you do want these cliffhangers to escalate through the story. And the reason why it's built like that is because the person sitting at home is looking at their phone and they're scrolling, and you need them to want to scroll to the next one to keep it going.
Of
So
course,
so here's
they
the
need
challenge.
to keep watching.
They need to keep watching, and so that's of course the business part of it. You need to keep their attention. But the big difference of the two, and we're pretty familiar with the horizontal story. It's a three acts. It has big arc. It's there's a climax, a resolution. Resolution at the end. But the big difference in all of our ways we tell stories, whether it's a book or a film or uh, a recording, doesn't matter, a play, the big difference, and this is what makes vertical stand on its own, is that the other ways you assume the audience attention, right? So if you're watching a movie, I assume as a filmmaker, you're going to watch my movie, I Am Zozo, but you might not like it, but you're probably going to watch the whole thing
Until the end, yes.
until the end, or you might watch 80 minutes. I don't know, right? But for verticals, you have to earn the audience's attention in each episode,
Wow,
and that's the
that's tough.
challenge. That is the crazy thing. With a budget of $200,000, very small budget, you have a very small time frame to do it. Everyone is taking their craft and rushing it, to make that day, because the business model won't work if it's $1 million budget. Um, so
Yeah.
those are the main differences. Then we could get into the mechanics of, like, there's a difference of, on set and blocking, of course, and the actors and
Yeah,
the
but you went perfectly there, because there that was my next question. How technically do you do so much pages in one day? You have to be fast, so that means the technical part has to be very fast, very clean, and the actors has to deliver like light speed
yes.
performance.
Yeah, so similar to I mean, as when I'm choosing an actor, if they say I haven't done any verticals, I still I don't mind having them, but it's I there might be a learning curve for them. So for a director, and I feel for definitely a director and an actor, what applies to us to make our day easier is preparation. For an actor, they know they have to just know that script. I mean, some of them are amazing. They just learn it 2 days before. That's their own skill. It's blows my mind. As a director, I have 3 weeks to prepare. The more I'm prepared, I'm talking like shot. I'm a visual person, so my shot
Mm-hmm.
list is very visual. If I write it out, it doesn't help me as much as a visual storyboard, like placing the cameras and so we have very little time to look at our locations. We have, I don't know, it could be an hour. So very quick. I take photos and
Yeah.
quickly I'm like, boop, I have to start planning for those days. And the more I'm prepared, and my notes, I use scriptation. So my iPad is I have it my own style, like it's broken up where things are very specific and planned out. So I've learned the more I block in my head or on my iPad way before I come to set. So the more I'm prepared, the more time I'll have for the creative part and the more and I'll be on time, and that's the goal. If I'm not prepared and I can't convey what I need done in these certain spots in the location to my DP clear enough, things will slow up and the
Yeah.
actors will not understand. So I need a clear image and go in. The only thing my DP might change some of the blocking because of the lighting and I'm always open to opinions. That's the only thing that would change. But when I go in, I have at least have a clear image of what's going to happen.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that there is very little space for improvisation on the spot, like which for the actor or the director, you just cannot, you just have don't have the luxury to improvise on the spot. Is
You
that
don't, you don't,
correct?
you have to change it up sometimes because you weren't anticipating, uh, like like a shower scene. The shower was, I thought had a door with the something and it didn't when I got there because of our
Mm-hmm.
lack of time of really scouting. You do run into some of those obstacles that surprise you. And in those moments you have to improvise and move quickly. But
Yeah.
that's not ideal. So you're right. So the ideal is to know your location, prepare for it, and when you go on set, you'll be way more relaxed, and the DP will have more time to make the shot look better,
Yeah,
and that's important.
as a question for the DOP, is that hard? You talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to ask: is that hard for a DOP, which is usually used to shot in vertical and have his plan? And the third rule: what is the hardest part of shooting vertical?
So the hardest part is for the DP and even for me, the DOP for in Europe, and for me blocking is we have to make we have to make the vertical frame look interesting. So we do break it up in thirds, but in a different way. And when we
Yeah.
block, yeah, it's called stacking, and I come up with I don't know, think of a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal with the DP is when we have a big day, like 15 pages, but this is like now built into the way I work on a vertical. How do we, how do I block efficiently? How do we keep this camera stack and the lighting in one place before it moves and you know, turns around and gets the other
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
coverage? I want to stay as much as possible here. So, for instance, in one of my series, the protagonist and female talent were talking on a dining room table. She surprised him. He had a girl there. The girl hid in a closet. But I'm like, okay, I don't. If it was a horizontal, I don't care where the closet is. We don't have to connect the closet. We have time to make that feel interesting. But in a vertical, we don't have much time. And I want to make that frame look more interesting. So I place the table right in front of the closet. So the closet, as they're talking, the closet is in the background. They're talking in the foreground. So as we're shooting, we'll see the closet open and she's peeking out. So we have it stacked and
Yeah.
everything in one shot,
So
you
it's
know?
it's more like the most information in one shot at the time.
Yeah, at a time if you can, and to make if you want, if you could create tension in your small frame,
Mm-hmm.
do it. Like another one was a desk in the foreground, protagonist hiding under the desk. On the other side of the desk, in the midground of the foreground, two of the bad guys were talking. So the
Mm.
conversation is happening in our wide shot while he's hiding. So, it's kind of like, oh my God, don't find them, So we try to stack as much as we can to make it interesting. Or if we find a house with a chandelier, or we find a house that has spiral staircase up, you have a
Yes.
lot of real estate up north there. You lose all your
Mm.
real estate in your left and right, but you got to be
Yeah.
careful because you have a lot of room up top, so you have to frame for that and to make the shot look interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I always wonder about the technical part because yeah, you like you said, you study one life to do things one way horizontal, and then one day it's just like okay,
Yeah.
now we are going upside down
Yeah.
and that must be getting used to.
Yeah, and they have to stand so close, like uncomfortably close to each other. So when they're talking to each other in the two shot to get them in frame, you have to be, your marks wouldn't be that close in a horizontal frame.
Yeah.
So there's just things that are different. Or I would combine stuff like in the script, they're at the dinner table and there's an argument, and she leaves, goes into the hallway, and they finish the argument in the hallway. But I'm like, okay, so I don't want to take my whole camera stack, all my lights go into the hallway. So a lot of times I'll adjust scenes where if it's not necessary that she has to be in the hallway, if that doesn't push the story forward, like if she doesn't find a mirror in the hallway or something, keep them
Yeah.
there. So she leaves, he grabs her, and then we keep him in the key light that we had set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just pound away. So in a vertical, you have to you
Be
you have
time
to
efficient.
yeah, time efficient, pound away. If it was a 3-page day horizontal, it's fine. Yeah, let's go into the hallway. Let's shoot
Yeah.
the beautiful
Let's set a
hallway.
dolly to follow
Let's set the
them. Yeah.
dolly, man. We'll do the
Yeah.
everything. But
Yeah.
verticals, you don't
Okay.
have that. You don't have that time. So our shots are set up for the DP to make the frame look interesting. Our blocking reflects that. We have to figure out where to save time. And when it comes to lighting, it's basic for not easy, but I'm just saying like it's the same as horizontal. Just lighting. Uh, a little bit more forgiving because you don't have to worry about all the junk there and all the junk there.
Yeah. And
So
for
I
the
think that
gear,
part is a
is
little
that
easier.
the same gear? Just put it in vertical, or do you have special gear special for verticals?
The camera,
Yeah.
the camera, we just on our shoots we turn vertically, so we use the whole sensor. Some people they'll shoot horizontally and they'll crop in post.
Oh.
Some shoot too, they'll shoot a horizontal and vertical. That's hard for me only because now we got to pay attention to the horizontal frame, and
Yeah.
these light stands that would ordinarily be closer,
Hmm.
we would have to kick them out. And so I'm not a big fan of that, unless that business model does well and they pay me for it. But if
Yeah.
I'm shooting a vertical, I rather focus on the vertical.
You personally prefer to shoot directly in vertical.
If it's, yeah, I don't want to shoot. I mean, if I'm hired to shoot a vertical, I want to only concentrate on the vertical frame. I don't want
Yeah.
to concentrate on the horizontal and vertical, so the company could, distribute both. Um, it just makes it harder. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So, in your opinion, what's the biggest thing people misunderstand about vertical dramas? What is the thing that you hear the most about people who don't know vertical dramas that they say to you and that is a misunderstanding?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who there's camp, you know, the traditional people have never been into verticals. It's just they look at it like slop or just junk, you know. The stories are a bit tacky, I'll admit, but there is an art form in there. There's a language. It's a real format. It's a way of telling a story. The stories could get better and definitely more traditional, and the genres can expand outside the tropes that is working now. But it's not. It's the real deal, and it's a real art form.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a believer. When I first saw it, of course, I'm like, what? When I watched the first one, the big hit at the time, Billionaire something on YouTube, and I'm like, wow, it's like a student film. Like, we a lot of us look at it, it's kind of, a little campy or cheesy, but I'm looking at the comments and the comments were 100% positive. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, I can't wait. I'm like, what am I missing? But when I started to learn about it, I mean, it's a whole different, not everyone can shoot a vertical, not everyone can direct one, not everyone can act in one. It's its own thing, 100%. Um,
Yeah.
and I love it. I mean, I want to get into. I'm pivoting now to get into with a partner of mine to get into uh, other genres and things we don't see. To focus on culture, black and brown movies and
Mm-hmm.
uh, just you know uh, different things that we're not audiences that we're not reaching. I want to be part of reaching those audiences.
Yeah,
A
that's
lot of a
great.
lot of stories that are not being told, and I want to be part of the one to help bridge that.
Yeah, and it made me think about the way you said it is like the format is. It made me think a little bit about comic books, and the issue where like once a week, and it's
It's
very short, and it's the same thing in the end. So you have these short episodes and you have to keep the audience watching, as the comic book 100 years ago had to make the people read every week this new issue. So for me, it's very interesting. So do you think that Hollywood, quote unquote Hollywood, would will go deeper on that, and that like when cinema when TV came after the cinema, the actors of the cinema were like, no, TV, it's not for me. And then the TV show are very popular, and people from the cinema are going to TV shows. Do you think there will be this switch about the people from the TV show are going to verticals, etc.?
Yeah, I really think, and it's happening now. I've been seeing a lot of interesting moves in legacy Hollywood and actors are interested. I'm not sure how these low budgets will work. There definitely has to be some other incentive, probably with brands and things. But
Mm,
you do see a lot of brands are interested, a lot of actors. You have Paramount interested, and Peacock has its own uh, vertical section. I
platform.
even
Oh
think
yeah, I
Paramount
didn't know
does. Yeah.
that.
Fox Entertainment put millions into Holy Water, which is the app my stuff's on, my drama. Um, there's a handful of companies that have surfaced in Hollywood to produce verticals, but what they're experimenting now, and this goes into another conversation a little bit, but because of AI, a lot of the Chinese platforms are doing full AI shows for a fraction of the price, and they're doing well. But I look at it as just like this blanket that's over live action right now. You can't see it, but when it settles, the AI stuff settles, I think you'll have a lot more live action for me slowed this year, like actually last month, but I think it'll pick up again. And especially in the West, in Europe, in America,
Hmm.
we do. people do want to see real people. Yes, there's a
Yeah.
place for AI. I look at it like really good animation. You could do stuff with dragons, you can do fantasy, whatever.
Yeah.
You can use it as a hybrid in production,
It's a tool.
um,
Yeah.
as a tool, but I don't see live action going away. And what's going to happen because of this is you're going to have, and this will connect my thought to what we're talking about Hollywood. You will see um, more original stories. You'll see different genres. This is the time where you'll see uh, just better and deeper stories. People taking a
Yeah.
chance in this vertical space,
To go deeper
whether
on the
it's
craft, you mean? You
or
as
yeah,
the
like
craft of
horror,
doing
like
it, of
not really
yeah.
the correct, like you'll have that those episodes and those arcs and stuff, but they're going to experiment with like horror or comedy or just outside of the billionaire and
Yeah.
you know the tropes that are working right now. I think you'll have these premium stories that are going to surface,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to be an interesting time, and I think AI is pushing us to do that.
Yeah,
So AI's
that was my thought. Like
yeah.
premium,
Yeah.
will we see a premium micro drama where the craft of the cinematography and the acting will go deeper and deeper as
Yeah.
the opposite of AI, and will go deeper on the human side of it. That was
Yeah.
my question. Yes.
I really think so. I mean, AI is going to be uh, it's really going to look amazing. I mean, it's looking great now, but I really believe there's this innate part of a human soul that you can't capture with AI. So I think an AI uh, vertical or story will always feel AI. There'll be something that
Hmm.
makes us feel like it's AI. Um, but I think it'll have its place. I mean, they'll definitely, have do business with AI, but I really think live action is still going to thrive, and it's going to do better than before. The stories will be better. The people getting involved, like the actors and social media stars, I think there's
Hmm.
going to be more people getting involved because it's going to get better and better.
Yeah, so
That's my thought.
you helped me transition perfectly to my next
Yeah.
question about the actors, because
Yeah.
yes, as an actor I'm interested. So what's the biggest mistake you see actors that are first time actors on vertical drama? What is the biggest mistake you see actors doing?
Just not prepared and not or preparing themselves for such a uh, rough day. I mean, it's not you're not standing around if you're a lead. And a really good vertical actor, they understand what the director wants. They understand where their they understand this must get done quick. You're gonna
Hmm.
have 1 to 2 takes. You better do one of the two really well, or you're not gonna look good on screen. You don't have time to do 3 takes. So
Hmm.
they are very conscious about where the light is, their eye lines. Directors will correct them, but they know they'll save time. Oh, my key light's here. They just find like it's like it blows my mind. They just understand the frame. And if you have to have them do a scene like a little portion over, they nail it or they get it. They have that script and the part down. If they're not used to it, they're standing too far away. They might be marked to stand close, but they drift a little. They're just not being conscious about their key light. They're just things that would is normal probably, and you have time for on a horizontal shoot. You just don't have this time on vertical,
Yeah.
and there's a way these stories, you know, there's just there's some parts that are very dramatic and it's a little soap opera, uh, just it's hard to explain, but actors who they
You
know
you
these
have to
parts, like,
deliver. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna take my shirt off. It's probably gonna be in slow motion, but he knows where the light is. They just know how it's gonna look. And you can
Yeah.
tell that they're very conscious about it.
Mm-hmm.
That, other than that, I mean, it's just, all the other things are the same. Just, you audition and you show up and you go through wardrobe and everything's the same. It's just that it blows their minds if they've never been on a vertical set, how fast
Yeah.
it moves.
So what's a typical day in a day shoot? What's a typical day for an actor, basically?
Typical day if you're a lead, you get on set and it's rock and roll. Like you just a lot of these, to be honest, a lot of these verticals need has a lot of intimate scenes. They're very sexy, and it's what the part that makes it sell. So there is an intimacy coordinator. I can add on to if a vertical actress is used to this pace to be in a sort of vulnerable position quickly, and we close our set, we do our best to keep them comfortable, but things move quick and they have to work quickly with a intimacy coordinator, which is not it's not always, you don't have much time to sink into this scene, which could be uncomfortable for a lot of talent, and if they're not used to it, it's very surprising, and they might have pushback on the day, which for me, for them to be comfortable is the most important thing. I would
Yeah, of
never want
course.
someone to, I wish they were more prepared or understood what that role entailed, but I also don't want to make them uncomfortable and do something they really don't want to do. So sometimes I have to work around it to make it more subtle and just use the intimacy coordinator to sell it in a different way. Um, but that's an important thing, especially for the common tropes that are out today. There's a lot of intimacy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah, yeah, okay. That's very interesting. So, my question is about more the pre-production for an actor. Is that really different from a general project? Like, how do you cast your actors? Do you have some casting director specifically? Do you work with agent? If some new actor wants to enter this world, as it's very fast paced, how can he
Yeah.
do it? Okay, so
Yeah, I could. For me personally, I there was I for when I work with Ammo Pictures, I always had a casting director, and thank God I worked with them and helped choose with my creative producer at Ammo to choose the right actress for the right part. And there are times with Flare Flow, my first one, I didn't have any interaction with the actors. I didn't choose them until the first day of shooting. So that's harder for me as a director.
mhm,
In putting myself in an actor's seat, you would either um, just network on LinkedIn or on Instagram and get to know directors or producers or even casting directors, and they can get you in the loop easily. Definitely casting directors could get actors in a loop. And when things come up, if you fit the role, you just get into a casting um, profile, and the director goes through it, and they look for. And I could give tips as a director when I'm looking for these things. For me, a lot of the talent, look similar. Everyone's good looking, and so a lot of people fit the part. But what I'm looking for is what stands out in
mhm,
performance, and you don't have a lot of time. And believe me, standing in front of a green screen, having your wife or husband read the part to you. I know it's not going to be like Academy Award winning scene, but we do see there's something in there, And so what I look for is the eyes, The eyes are a big part of verticals, your emotions, the way your eyes look. So it's those moments, they're pausing and they're showing something in their eye that catches my attention. It's not
yeah,
just reading it like blah 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 blah. There's something, they might pause, look down, look up, and deliver it, whatever that is. It's those moments where I can see it's quicker for me to see the character if they're feeling it. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling it, it's gonna come through your eyes. And so that's what I look for. Um, again, these things are very quick. We look at them very quickly. We oh my God, okay, he's got the right look, she's got the right look, right emotion. So we'll break them down into a few, then a smaller, and then sometimes we can't choose, so we'll have a chemistry test. But yeah, that's the best advice I can give, and uh, it's a win-win. It's
Yeah.
just make sure you don't have a lot of time probably to learn the part, but just make sure you feel it during that short time
Yeah.
you're filming yourself.
Yeah, of course. So, my question was, is there a casting platform like you can have in America for Actor Access or Spotlight in the UK, specifically for verticals? Do you know any
Things
platforms?
surface, you know what? Yeah, I saw things popping up. God, I wish I had specific examples because
Like,
I'm not thinking, in that. But yeah, I think if you Google like casting, and I think things will come up. Um, and there's definitely a lot of casting directors that are from legacy companies, like Legacy Hollywood that,
mhm.
all around the world that are like, wow, they're getting into this. They're opening up,
Yeah.
themselves to vertical directors, which vertical directors could springboard into, regular films. Doesn't You're not just, hey, I'm a vertical director,
Yeah, yeah, of
you know.
course. Yeah,
So, but
and you're the
there's
perfect example because you
yeah,
went from
y-
documentary, horror movie, verticals.
yeah,
So yeah, yeah, it's
yeah.
not just one case, and yeah,
Exactly. So we go back and forth. So there's a lots and lots of, traditional creative directors, talent casting directors who are opening their self up to bringing on new talent for verticals.
yeah, okay, that's very clear. And my question as a European, so if there is, let's say, some European actor who wants to be in one of your production or in Hollywood, how does the production? Is it already done that the production will do all the paperwork, the visas, and everything? Is that already done, or you're not doing it?
Yeah, I don't have experience in that. Like usually because the budgets are so low that they're like, oh well, if we bring someone, this incredible actor, but if we bring him in from Europe, it just might cost too much,
Hmm.
and too much time. But again, that could all change. I mean, that's my experience. Other people may have different experiences, uh, but there's a lot of stuff shooting in Europe, or if the part really calls for that, I think it's definitely something to explore,
Yeah,
But usually I'm used to just really quick, like, you know, we get this house, shoot everything in it. Okay, our actors from LA, grab them
yeah,
and
yeah,
shoot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I think there's going to be a lot of things opening, a lot of cool things going to happen in the near future. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, and I was thinking about, for example, you talked a lot about Ammo Pictures, and I know they're from Ukraine, so
Yeah,
they're shooting stuff in Europe, but
yeah.
they also collaborate with you in LA, so that's great, I think.
Yeah, so I'm brought on by Ammo, and then Ammo has a production arm, a company called TerraVision that's based in LA, and they're Ukrainian as well. So that's sort of the pipeline. But
Mm.
they once asked me, I was too busy at the time, but like, Scott, come to Ukraine, we'll shoot a vertical, or somewhere. I'm like, now I'm like, cool, it's definitely something.
Yeah, you
Uh,
get to travel and do
yeah,
the job that you love, so that would be
yeah.
interesting.
So honestly, like for actors out there, and feel free to follow me on my Instagram. It's just my full name. Yeah, it's just about networking, and these things they're made often. I mean, it's slowed a little because of AI. So we'll see what happens. But we are in a transitional period. But I feel it's for the best. I feel it's for the best.
Okay, so we are arriving a little bit at the end of our interview, but I have a couple of questions
Yeah,
left. One more personal because I love to live on this more personal note. If
yeah.
you, as an artist, as a director, if you met your younger self in the street, like the one who began to think about being an artist, what would you say to him? Would you say to the young Scott
Hmm.
if you met him in the streets?
To be honest, I mean, this goes against my creative artsy way, but probably go to my youngest self if I can reach him as a teenager and just say, get to a film school. And I only say that because there's structure. You can learn structure right away, and your alumni and your people you meet through there connect you easier than that I had available. So I think that's one thing it's a hard road to learn things on your own, especially during a time when there wasn't like cell phones and internet. It just is a lot harder. But school, I mean, if it doesn't have to be USC, it could be whatever. Just get some training, and a lot of these film schools are hands-on. That's what I would do different. This is what I want. I'm gonna go to school for it, and then it wouldn't. I don't know. It would just have helped my path. I feel sooner than some of the trial and tribulations that I had to go through in the middle of my career.
So maybe
So,
quicker, arrive where you are quicker.
or have a better understanding of how to get it.
Mm,
It may be quicker. It is a challenging industry still,
of
but
course,
I definitely, and the one thing about traveling from A to Z, right? You can never plan for all the things that happen in the middle.
of
One
course.
person you meet can change your whole life. One person, like one peer or your student you're studying with, one person, right? And you can never predict who that person is or that event, right? So, but I would have definitely of helped my career if I had some traditional training in it to be around like birds of a feather flock together. So if you
Hmm.
immerse yourself with filmmakers, I think it just helps to be on that road with the same people like like-minded folks. So that'd be
Yeah,
one. I don't know if it would work, but that would I think
yeah,
of
but
that, you know.
that's beautiful said, and yeah, that's a good answer. And usually I don't have this kind of answers. I usually no, I wouldn't change anything. It's good like this. But you went straight there and you said yes, I would have done that, and
Yeah.
that's good. A
Yeah.
little honesty, that's perfect.
Especially as a
Okay.
director and DP. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what are the next projects, if you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah.
Have you news to share about your art, about your, I don't know, a new project? Maybe not vertical, maybe horizontal. Maybe what's your new projects?
Yeah.
What's the future of Scott looks like?
The future of me, well, I'm waiting, might be another one with Ammo to direct, but I really want to get involved. And I have one of my business partners, we're head of production of a new company that we're building. And that company is going to be platform, and we're going to do live action. We're going to focus on people of color, like cultural stuff, Black, brown stories, and we have an AI component to this company. So it's just starting out, and we're putting it all together, but we're building something I think it's probably one of the best times to do this. So that's where I'm putting a lot of my focus in right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, great.
We'll see what happens, but
I
I want
wish
to take
you
it
I
to
wish you
another
all the
level.
best for these new projects coming.
Thank
So
you.
for the project that went out already. Where can we find your work? On what platforms? Maybe your movie, your feature film, where we can find it, and some of
Yeah.
the vertical work that you did. Where can we find Scott Di Lalla's work?
My work is on, well, a lot of my verticals are on My Drama, so the My Drama app. You'll see them all. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I do all my updates on what's coming out or what I've done in the past. I Am Zozo, the horror film I shot a while ago. You could probably find that on Tubi, I think. I have a bunch of stuff on Prime, which is Bike and Builder, is more of the modern docu-series I did for that's on Prime. It's a three-part series. And then Chopper Town, Harvard Town Bobber, all of that you can see for free on YouTube under the Chopper Town channel, the YouTube channel. Um, yeah, that's what else is there? I think on that channel, let me yeah, I think that's most of them. Um, yeah. You can follow me on LinkedIn, my full name, Instagram, my full name. Um,
Yeah, okay. But
I'm out there.
we will put everything in the description so people can find your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I want to thank you again for
Thank you too.
telling us everything about vertical dramas, and that's a subject I'm very interested about, and I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in. So I want to thank you for enlightening us about this about your work, your career,
Thank you.
and your journey as an artist. So yeah, thank you so much, Scott. And yeah, I will be sure to check all your work. I'm very interested about the motorcycle stuff. I will search
Yeah,
it
yeah. Just
on
yeah, so,
YouTube, and
yeah.
that will be perfect.
Awesome. And thank you for having me. This is great. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you,
yeah, it's a
Scott.
great
And
conversation.
yes, and we will see each other very soon,
Very soon.
hopefully.
Yeah. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Have a good
Bye.
evening. Have a good morning. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
thank you. Ciao.